If I have learned one thing over the past several years in talking to students, colleagues,
Okay,
Is there
sounds
anything
good.
you don't want to talk about?
No, I'll talk about
All right,
anything.
awesome, man. Same as me. All right, so we're here with Dan, bodybuilder in Thailand. You might know Dan from YouTube. I've been watching him on and off for a few years. What I like about you, Dan, is you're just transparent. You know, in the fitness and steroid and the bodybuilding community, 99.9% of people out there saying they're just natural. They just train harder than the other person, and they wouldn't take steroids and stuff like that. But you're out there just saying this is what I do, take it or leave it. And so I take my hat off to that
Yeah.
transparency.
Hey, thanks, Harvey. I appreciate that. So I started out being one of those guys. I started out when I was 17, and when the first day that I wanted to go to the gym, I wanted to look like a bodybuilder. I looked up to guys like Arnold or Franco Columbo, stuff like that. That was what I was going for. But because of the magazines and stuff, I had no idea that I needed steroids to achieve that. So for a long time, I really wanted to be natural, and I was like, I would felt some pride in being natural, and it was until brought my head up out of the sand and realized, what was necessary, what I had to do in order to, make the reality that I wanted happen. And yeah, that was when I changed and realized, you know, I had to go on the injection.
What was that turning point where you realised that everyone's just lying to you and they're all taking steroids?
Um, well, I was training natural from the time that I was 17 until the time that I was 24, and I just noticed that people in the gym, there would be certain people who would get big, um, and there would be certain people who wouldn't. And I also noticed that there was a certain limit to training. As I would do powerlifting training, like Mad Cows 5x5 or Starting Strength by Mark Ripto. I was doing some of those powerlifting programs and I was getting good results. But it was it was when I started to realize there was a hard limit, and it wasn't just me; it was the other guys around me who I actually knew for a fact were natural, because they were my best friends. Um, and that was when I started thinking, you know what? I think steroids are going to be the necessary thing for me.
Yeah, so let's backtrack a little bit in terms of your stats. So you're 17 to 24 natty, and by natty we mean no SARMs. Is that right?
No, no, no. Pro hormones, no SARMs, no nothing. Like just protein powder and
Yeah. And so
creatine.
when you started, how tall are you? 5'10"?
I'm 5 foot
Five
nine,
foot nine. Okay, so
177
yeah,
centimeters.
yeah. And so when you started age 17, when the day one, ground zero in the gym or at home, what did you weigh when you started?
I
About.
weighed 145
So you like
pounds.
and then so what are you now? So you started at 140.
Yeah, yeah. Right now, I haven't been taking a lot of steroids for a few months now. I've been
What was your max?
on a
Yeah,
hiatus
yeah,
from
that's
that.
fair enough. What was your max?
Yeah, so when I was using the most steroids and performance enhancing drugs, that was in 20 2018, and during that time I was same height, obviously 5'9", and got up to 244 pounds, real ripped and with a lot of veins bursting out. You can see on my Instagram. You can see on my Instagram. Yeah, I was 100 pounds. Yeah. So let me tell you what I used. Let me tell you what I used to what eventually got me up to that. I mean, obviously, used testosterone, and used a little bit of trenbolone in the beginning, but what
How much? How much are we talking?
I would use about three to 500 milligrams of trenbolone per week, and like 600 milligrams of testosterone per week. That was the first, maybe 25 pounds of muscle, and then I would keep on using stuff like that, and maybe adding in orals like Winstrol or Superdrol or Dianabol at, like, anywhere from 30 to 50 milligrams per day from time to time for like 8 to 10 weeks at a time. And then I when I really though made the jump to looking the way that I wanted to, like, a freaky bodybuilder, was when I started using higher dosages of testosterone and using pharmaceutical grade human growth hormone. And actually, and I didn't use any trenbolone during that time either. So trenbolone's really strong, but like when I got up to the 5'9", 244 pounds of muscle, that was, I'll tell you the cycle I was running. It was it was 1,250 milligrams of testosterone per week with 1,000.
What sort of testosterone? Nanthate,
Testosterone, nanthate. Yeah, it was Bayer testoviron. And then so 1,250 milligrams Bayer testoviron per week, and then I was using 1,200 milligrams of primobolan enanthate per week, and I was using 30 milligrams of Superdrol per day, and 50 milligrams of Anadrol per day, and 50 milligrams of Winstrol per day, and metformin 2,000 milligrams per day, and Norditropin, human growth hormone, at 3 IUs per day.
Yeah, so the Norditropin, is it actually human growth hormone? It's just growth hormone.
It's human growth hormone. It's made by RDNA technology, like how they make the insulin, how they have the E. coli bacteria make it.
So I was under the impression that was growth hormone versus cadaver sourced human growth hormone.
Oh yeah, the cadaver source, they stopped doing that. Yeah. I was using the RHGH.
That's right. Yeah, so recombinant growth hormone. Yeah, because they don't make human growth hormone anymore, do they, from cadavers?
They don't. No. So this is the rDNA derived human growth hormone.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah.
Not the Carl Lewis type.
But that stuff's really good. That stuff makes you bigger and more boxy looking and more square. And it also cuts you up at the same time and grows new veins on your body. So after doing the growth hormone for about maybe 4 months or so, I got new veins that grew all over the insides of my quads. So and they've stayed with me. They've stayed with me since.
So that's interesting. So you think the veins came up from down below, or they actually just new veins were produced? What do you think?
I had always thought, I'd always looked at my legs and looked at Ronnie Coleman's legs, and I'd always used steroids before that, and I'd looked at Ronnie Coleman's legs, and he has these big veins that stick out through his sweatpants or his stretch pants, whatever those things are. And I was thinking, wow, that's insane. Like, I don't have veins on my legs. Like, how do you get freaking veins like sticking out, on the tops of your quads all over the place? And so I'd already been using steroids for a long time. And then as soon as I did that growth hormone, bam, all mine came out, man.
Yeah. So I wonder if they were there all along, or they're new. I wonder if anyone knows that. That'd be interesting.
Yeah,
that'd be interesting. Maybe some East Bloc doping doctor would know the answer to that question. That would be very interesting. What I find interesting about the whole steroids thing is it's like a secret club, isn't it?
Yeah. It really is, actually. It's like a secret club, and the people that think they can find the information that's correct about using steroids from looking online, that's like not all that stuff that you read online on forums or articles, whatever, and the YouTube celebrities who say they're IFBB pros or whatever. It's all garbage. And it's like you said, it's a club, and you have to know the right people or do personal experimentation in order to figure it out.
Yes, it's almost like a lot of users will take it to the grave almost.
Yeah, exactly. I've heard some people compare it to like the most secretive thing next to like being a pedophile is being somebody who is a steroid user. It's like the most secretive thing.
Yeah, I've got a gay mate, and he says, his family reacted more negatively to him being open about steroid usage than being gay.
Yeah, what people don't know though is that the steroids, they're not some kind of diabolical hormone. They are, the one that works really really good is actually testosterone, which is the same one that everybody makes in their own testicles. Okay, it's just manufactured and put in a vial, and then you inject
Yeah.
it.
Where did this steroid stigma come from? Was it Rocky Four, the Russians and stuff like that, or what was it?
That was definitely part of it. But I really think that so it was had to do with the Cold War, and the Russians being the bad people, like you said, that are doping and stuff like that. I think that had to do with it, but I also think that there was a general move in society, because steroids, our government leaders and everybody, they don't want you to be, thinking way outside the box and be doing a lot of stuff that is um, proactive. And also masculinity is under attack too. And so when you're promoting masculine behavior, because testosterone does do that, and making big strong dudes, that's not really something that the government wants. And steroids have only existed for 70 years now.
That's interesting because I guess it gives Hollywood a less power, because you have the Hollywood actors and actresses using steroids and lying about it, and then people think, oh wow, that person's they just train hard or whatever. It creates this fairy tale dream world.
Yeah.
I guess it's like WWE wrestling. When people found out it was fake, they still kept watching anyway, mostly.
Yeah, it is kind of like that. Okay, so yeah, there definitely is, like talking about the psyche of a bodybuilder and why he, wouldn't want someone to know he takes steroids, is because a lot of bodybuilders are using like a muscle suit to, like, kind of portray a character. And, like there's a character that goes along with having the big muscles. And, if they're just talking with normal people in real life, or, they're at school or something like that, they're at college, something like that, it's like, oh, well, everybody's going to think they're this cool guy who's, he's the crazy workout guy, and he's like the movie stars, and they want to project that image to people. And so if you then, disgrace him by learning he's on steroids, then, I mean, that ruins everything for him.
And I think a lot of bodybuilders and even women who do Botox or cosmetic surgery, people just who want to enhance their image for their own personal reasons, fair enough. There is underlying that a level of potential insecurity. So I find that where you're really different is you're like, this is what I do, I don't care, love me or hate me, whatever. I just like doing steroids, it makes me feel good, I like being strong, I like being big. You seem like a very secure bodybuilder, but a lot of them out there are very insecure, and you can cut them down really quickly. And so I think a lot of them hide that steroid reality because they don't want to be cut down because they just can't handle it.
Yeah, and bodybuilding is something that is going to be tough on someone's self-esteem, because you're looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, what do I need to improve? That's like the basis of bodybuilding. And also, you want to project that image, because, one of the things that made me actually want to take steroids too was that, I felt like for those 7 years that I was training natural, I felt like, man, I'm putting a lot of effort into my diet and my training, and I'm not getting enough like results from this in order to justify putting the time that I'm doing into this. So it was almost like, to say to someone like, oh, I'm a bodybuilder, it almost would seem stupid, because I had been investing so much time in trying to become a bodybuilder, but not getting enough results. So it would be like, oh, you're wasting your time. Someone would think that.
Yeah, I hear you. And I think for people out there who want to stay natty, then as long as you enjoy doing weights and stuff, then that's just keep doing it. But
Yeah. But that was never my goal from the moment I stepped in the gym. I went there because I wanted to get big, and get.
So
ripped.
that's where you got to understand what your goal is, and if that is your goal, then steroids are going to be part of that journey at some point.
Yeah. So for all the guys out there that your goal is to have like big, muscular, ripped arms that are like really full, and and you have those round muscles, and you hold up your muscle, or you have those thick muscles where everybody, says, "Oh, like he's the muscle guy." That takes anabolic steroids, people. There's no way around it. That it's not natural.
And so for the noobs listening, they might say, "Yeah, I don't want to look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I want to look like Athlean X." Athlean X,
Yeah.
in your opinion, natty or not?
Not natural. So steroids, they change the way your muscles look. They don't just have to do with the size, which is a common misconception.
But Athlean X, he's a nice guy. Only bad guys do steroids.
Yeah,
That's what Rocky IV taught me.
He's
He's nice. He smiles in the videos. People who smile wouldn't use steroids. He's getting bigger as he gets older. That's just hard work and dedication. He's got a university degree.
yeah. He seems like a good guy. But
Using steroids doesn't make you a bad person, but I think lying about it makes you a bit of a sociopath, especially if people are buying your product thinking they're going to look like you just because they train like you or take your protein supplements. I think that's sociopathic.
Yeah.
I think that's fraud, in my opinion.
Me too. I was thinking about this the other day myself as well, because I was talking about this topic, and I think that if you rated those guys on a psychologist's scale, they would rate high, like on the sociopathy.
Narcissistic and sociopath, in my opinion,
Sociopath
for sure.
trait quality. Yeah. They'd be those guys.
Yeah, that would be. I would agree on that one. So I cut you off. You were saying what were you saying? Yeah. What? How many? So when you were from 17 to age 24, how much pounds of muscle did you put on your 5'9" frame, natty, being natural?
Well, and being able to deadlift 400 pounds or so. So up to about 190 pounds, but it would be with quite a bit of fat that would come with it, because I was gaining 45 pounds and it wasn't all muscle. And so when I would, get back to being a lean state, it would be about 165, 170 pounds. So something, like 20, 25 pounds of muscle. Yeah, like I gained muscle naturally. And if you look at pictures of me, like I was saying my Instagram earlier, bodybuilder in Thailand, it has pictures of me before and after steroids, so you can see, what my muscles looked like before.
Yeah, that would be good. I'm not sure if you've done it yet. Maybe do like a 3-part photo of like, your 17-year-old weight, your 24-year-old weight, and then your 2018 weight. It's just as like extreme examples.
Yeah.
That might. Have you done that before?
Yeah. So before I looked like the classic lean athlete type. That's what I got with the natural. I didn't get a big, full, thick, muscular.
So do you think there's anyone out there with Athlean X's ectomorph genetics? When he was a teenager, he was ectomorph, like a lot of us are or were. Do you think anyone can get Athlean X physique results natural?
Well, I don't think so. I don't think so. So he has a certain look to him that is a cosmetic effect of using substances. But I think that a natural guy who is around 20 years old and in his prime can achieve that same level of muscle mass and relatively the same level of leanness. They just won't look so sharp like he does.
Yeah, that's exactly right. There is like in Athlean X's marketing material, his body weight obviously varies during the year based on different cycles. So when he's in like peak marketing photo shot, that I would agree that is a just that definition and angles and stuff like that. It is a pharmaceutical enhanced aesthetic.
Absolutely. And you start to, as you get more familiar with using the drugs yourself and seeing the exact effects of them on your own body, then you'd be able to start seeing the exact effects of them happening on other people's body, and you gain this trained eye.
That's what I noticed when I started taking steroids from the family doctor. I did a little YouTube experiment back in 2014 because people were telling me, "Oh, steroids are really hard to get, blah blah blah," and I'm like, "No, they're not. They're easy as." So people didn't believe me, so I did a little thing where I collected trash, like cans and bottles from the bins, you know, here in Australia, and I saved the money up, and then went to the doctor, and then got the prescription for the testosterone, and then with the money I got from trash, collecting cans on my bicycle, I bought steroids, and I bought enough that I could have like a mini cycle. And just to prove a point,
Man, I shit you not.
Yeah.
I watched that back in the day, and I laughed my
you know,
ass
because
off.
and then I don't think I ever got a comment ever again. Steroids are hard to get and they're expensive. You know, maybe some of the designer stuff is the human growth hormone, probably a bit harder to get, but your basics staple of testosterone is incredibly cheap and incredibly easy to get legally from your local family doctor. Now, I'm not telling people to go and do that, but I'm just saying people, if you are going to take steroids, do it under supervision of a doctor. And I don't recommend injecting anything from an underground lab into your body when you can get these legal, safe steroids from your local, friendly family doctor, you know, and you'll know exactly what you're getting. So I'm not telling people to go and do steroids, but if they're going to, then at least do it in a safe as possible way. Because you had a bad experience there, didn't you? With, I think it was in Colombia, you had a injection. What was it?
Yeah, that was actually a good thing that you brought that up, because I was
We want people to be healthy out there. Or healthier, or minimize risk.
Yeah, because I had a leg infection from a steroid injection that was really dangerous. And so how that happened was that, you know, I got in America there's not a lot of pharmaceutical grade steroids available. I think less than Europe. And so I was using from the start underground lab gear. And then as time went on, I became less selective about the underground gear that I would use because I was so used to using it. And, eventually, I got burned with with some steroids that had some bacteria inside the vial that when I injected it into my quad caused a necrotic infection inside of my quad. And me being the kind of guy that I am, I like to take care of things myself, and I do my best to make that happen. So this was foolish of me. I waited 2 months with that abscess, and then eventually it popped, and then it became this necrotic wound. And so foolishly, I waited 2 months before I went to the doctor, and it went and turned into an emergency situation where I almost lost my leg while I was living in Colombia.
So if you had your time again, or if you had your time again, what would you do?
Well, I had to look at myself in the mirror after that experience, and ask myself, how did that happen, and how am I going to make sure that that's never going to happen again, and do I want to keep using steroids? And the answer that I came to was that yes, I do think that taking testosterone is a good thing, and I do think it's beneficial to my life, and I want to take it, but it's going to be pharmaceutical grade, and that's it. So I'm not injecting in any underground lab materials into my body anymore. And so I made that resolution with myself, and I felt comfortable at that point about continuing to use them. And like I said, I haven't been so big since, so I've been using them more conservative.
Yeah, that's better for your health. And but if you saw someone, let's say you had a friend and you saw that ulcer on his leg, that boil or whatever it was, what would you tell him to do? Go to the hospital straight away, or what?
Oh yeah. But man, I think there's a lot of other guys like me too. Like I wasn't just like letting it. I was trying to do things myself to take care of it. So I was like getting antibiotics, and I was taking the antibiotics. I would put the topical antibiotics on it. I would keep a bandage over it. And I was kind of like in denial too about how bad it was. I'd like to keep the bandage over it so that I couldn't see it. But then if I would like take the bandage off and stare at it for a few minutes, I would start to be like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It was,
wow.
it was,
and did you have pain
it was a
or
nightmare
fever
situation,
with it?
man. It hurt on my leg, but I had no system-wide effects. And the day before I went into the hospital with that thing, that hole on my leg, because it was a hole about the size of the top of a Pringles can, and and the I squatted, 3.5 plates, so I was squatting like 170 kilograms the day before I went into the hospital doing reps, deep below parallel squats with that. So it had no effect on my ability to use my leg at that time, and so that was why I was so shocked when I went into the hospital, and the doctors were so worried, and saying I thought they were just going to give me an antibiotic shot and send me out the door.
So what happened? It got worse in hospital, or
They it was at such a bad stage where it was that big hole about the size of a Pringles can, and so it was just the skin though, right? It wasn't a hole in the muscle, it was just a hole in the skin, because there was it was called a necrotic fasciitis. It's like a flesh eating bacteria that eats the skin. So it had become necrotic though, and so there was like dying tissue in it, and it was spreading. And with something like that, the doctors don't know if you have like a sepsis too, like an infection of the blood. And so they were really worried about that. And so then they did the first surgery, right? And the first surgery, the skin, when they closed it, was under so much pressure that it exploded. And so I woke up from the surgery with my leg, with this huge surgical incision in it, exploding on my leg, and I'm losing like so much blood, man. Like coagulated blood keeps flopping out of my leg, and that was when that like bankrupted me, because that surgery costed me about $10,000 right there in that Colombian hospital. And then that was when I got on my social media and let everybody know that I had a problem.
that's first mistake. Always have travel insurance lessons. Yeah, a lot of lessons.
Definitely a lot of mistakes, and I definitely had to take a long time, over a half a year, really contemplating what choices led to that happening.
Yes. Yeah, it's interesting. And then, so do you think if your leg did the skin split because your legs were big, or just how it is?
Oh, during the surgery? Well, the hole in the skin was so big that they had to, like I said, Pringles can size. So they were the stitching was so tight that it just started pulling apart right as soon as I got out of the surgery, because it was bleeding inside, and the blood was increasing the pressure inside. So then it so much pressure built up, it exploded the wound.
Yeah, wow. So that infection happened at the injection site. There wasn't a spider bite. It was.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was like, man, when I took that injection, oh my gosh, man, it was one of almost the most painful experiences I've ever had in my life. Like it felt when that steroid oil, when that steroid oil hit my muscle. No, usually when you do a steroid injection, you get like a kind of a full feeling. Yeah, maybe a bit of a sting, but as you're putting the oil in, there's not really any sting. It's kind of maybe a full or pressure feeling. But if it's like, but that's with normal stuff. But if you take trenbolone, then it does sting, like you said. Yeah, it stings pretty bad. But okay, so this stuff, when I inject it into my leg and it hits my muscle tissue, it feels like there's someone holding a match inside my leg, inside the muscle. Okay, as I'm feeling.
What was it again? An anthate?
No,
or?
it was trenbolone.
I said yes. Oh, so that's always hitting
us,
isn't it?
It was trenbolone. And so when I injected it into my leg, though, it was like no other injection I had ever felt before. And I'd taken 1,000 injections. So when it hit my leg, it was like seriously fire. And so I was basically had to like cover my mouth because I was definitely yelling. Like it was it was absurd. Okay, and so then after that, it leave these. Then the leg, it would like hurt, it hurt, and uh, then I started trying to take antibiotics and stuff, right, and trying to heal it from that point.
So that was tren, underground source tren, which
Yes.
now for people who don't know what trenbolone acetate is, that, correct me if I'm wrong, that started off or is currently used as a cattle, beef, livestock hormone to beef up the cattle. Is that correct? And it's still used in production today, isn't it? For cattle, for veterinary reasons?
Yeah. So actually, it's so good at preventing any muscle from leaving your body. It's by far the most powerful steroid. There's no. It's like if you put regular steroids on steroids, then they feel the way that Tren does.
Steroids on steroids.
Yeah, because it's not like the other steroids. It's like a different thing because it's so much more powerful. And so when a lot of people imagine like what steroids do, they're thinking of taking 100 milligrams of Tren per day. but that's not really, what normal steroids do.
Because Tren, you would say, has the most side effects potentially in normal dosages.
Yeah, yeah, with the side effects too, like it can make you really horny, or it can make you impotent, or it can make you like unable to like have an orgasm. And then in addition to that, it can make you have strange thoughts, like or enjoy things that you otherwise wouldn't, and be aggressive, and aggressiveness, like overly aggressiveness in social situations that is inappropriate is pretty typical. But those side effects are manageable, especially if you use certain ancillary drugs alongside the trend. And the trend doesn't force you to do any of those things. It just, puts a predisposition or kind of pushes you in that direction.
Yeah, interesting. So it's like you were saying that's very interesting how some people get a different reaction. Like you were saying, some people get a high sex drive and some people get impotence. Do people get a high sex drive with impotence? Does that happen?
No, because it does this effect where it can make your body's prolactin levels go up, and when that happens, it's a female hormone basically, but it exists in the male body, and it totally shuts off the male reproductive system, just grinds it to a total halt. So there's this. When I say impotent, I mean like castrated, basically, like chemically castrated.
Yeah, basically. Okay, so does everyone get that effect, or just some?
I'd say that most people do get it to some degree, especially with rising dosages, if they're not using cabergoline or pramipexole or bromocriptine, some kind of antiprolactin drug.
That's a Parkinson's drug, isn't it?
Yeah, for Parkinson's. Yeah. So if you're using that, then you can prevent, pretty much everybody can prevent any of those sexual side effects of Tren. But without it, probably 9 out of 10 guys are experiencing some negative sexual side effects to some degree.
9 out of 10. So it's a drug that has to have the ancillaries with it, or potential problems.
Yeah, definitely. If you don't have the stuff to go along with it, you're going to have problems. And that's one of the main mistakes that people make with steroids anyways, and why they get bad permanent side effects, is because they start without having the ancillary drugs that they need to prevent side effects. And so then when they get side effects, then they go scrambling trying to get those things.
Yeah, it is very, very interesting. The system, it's basically a big chemistry class, isn't it?
Yeah.
I remember a few years ago, I won't mention his name, but a few years ago I was taken to Supreme Court in Australia by a very successful social media entrepreneur who had a training program, and someone asked me my opinion of this guy and his partner, and I just said, I don't think it's enough calories, and I also think the guy, I think he's on the juice. And so I got literally, we were in a Supreme Court case, and eventually it got what's the word? It fizzled out. Nothing. We went our way, they went their way, but eventually the guy, he got busted in his Lamborghini or his Ferrari. I think he's got both. He got caught with cabergoline in the dashboard apparently.
Oh, he was on the trend.
Oh, who knows? But so that was pretty interesting. But this guy, he's very successful. He's made, I think, close to $450 million on social media selling ebooks, and so he would probably be the kingpin of ebook sales. So I'd take my hat off to that. But it was interesting though that he did get busted in the Lambo or Ferrari. I mean, that's how much money he's made. I think he's got both. He's absolutely crushed it. But it was an interesting moment because I made the video just sharing my opinion as I do. I wasn't expecting a Supreme Court case over it, and I said to the guy, I said, mate, you could have just called me up or whatever. Like, we can talk about it. Like, you don't have to spend money, wasting money on lawyers. It's like let's just have a man-to-man conversation and chat about it. Like, whatever. What's your goal? What's my goal? Let's work something out. Don't get the legal eagles, the money vampires involved. But no, it was interesting. So it is an underground world out there of young guys and older guys just wanting to enhance physique, and they're using steroids, and because there's so much stigma about that, then people have to lie about it, and it's just, I think, can create a lot of health issues like you've had with your injection of underground stuff.
Yeah. So actually, yeah, having that whole problem happen to me was one of the reasons why I decided to just completely come out and just start talking about everything that bodybuilders do. That's why I wrote my book, the Ultimate Guide to Roids, and then I started the Steroids podcast, is just because to just tell everything that bodybuilders are doing and put it out there, put the information out there, so that I felt like it's time for the world to have that. The kind of response that I get from people for using steroids, because I used to be kind of scared, to tell people that I use steroids. But the kind of response that I get for being open about my steroids use is really, it's either funny or I appreciate it. Sometimes if somebody is like, "Oh, what are you on steroids or something?" And I am, and so I'm like, yeah, I'm on a bunch of steroids,
and so is your boyfriend, but he's lying to you about it.
Yeah, but then there are other times when, for example, I was driving into this parking garage, all right, and I was in LA, and it was a Mexican guy. He was in the parking garage. He was the attendant, and I drive in, park my car. And after he gave me a ticket, and when I'm coming back out, walking out, because I was going to go to not Gold's Gym, but I was going to go to Muscle Beach Gym in Venice, and he goes, in his accent, he goes, "Hey man, what's the secret, man? How do you get so big?" And I looked at him, and I said 3 things: diet, training, steroids. And he looked at me. He looked at me like he saw a ghost, man. And he goes, "But they're expensive, right?" And I go, "Yeah." And I go walk to my gym. They are expensive.
Or they can be cheap as well. It depends on what you're using.
Well, if you get into bodybuilding, it's an expense.
You're right. It is. If you get into high dosages and what's the most expensive, you think, the Norditropins and that?
Yeah. If you want to be on like the dosage of, if you're on pharmaceutical grade growth hormone, you don't have to use much. So something like 4 or 5 IUs per day. But for most people, that's going to cost them, unless they have a really great source, that's going to cost around $1,000 a month.
So average TRT replacement cost in the USA, 250 milligrams a week. In Australia, that's probably going to cost you, $10 a week for 250 milligram of an anthate Bayer. What would it cost in the US, you think? 250 milligram a week
to get the prescription from the doctor, from a clinic, or okay, so like if you didn't get it with your insurance, if you went to a clinic or something, like a testosterone replacement or wellness clinic, it would probably cost about $300 a month.
So $300 for 1,000 milligrams.
No, yeah, and they would, so for the whole month they'd have you go every week. And it's usually a testosterone cypionate shot in America. and they'd have you go once a week, and they'd give you that shot.
Wow, that's expensive compared to Australia, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm surprised that in Australia it's quite so cheap like that.
And that's Aussie dollars, $30. There's a website called Chemist Warehouse, and that is the Australian pharmaceutical chain in Australia. It's like a big franchise. So if you want to know what steroids cost in Australia, just type in whatever you're looking for, and if it's legally sold in Australia, they'll have it on the website. And so the prices are on there. So, and if you have in Australia, healthcare is free. So to see a doctor, it doesn't cost anything. If you go to what's called a community doctor, like a bulk billing doctor, all you need is your Medicare card, and you don't pay anything. The government pays everything. And if you are on a low income, your steroids will be subsidised, so it might cost you $5 for an libido shot, like Reandron, 1,000 milligram of testosterone and decanoate. That will cost you $5 Aussie, which is about $3 US per 1,000 milligram ampule.
I like that stuff too.
Hey, is it 1,000 milligram or 4,000 milligram? It's 1,000.
It's a 1,000. They give it to you once a month for the TRT.
Yeah, so that'll cost you about $3 US in Australia if you're living homeless on the street and you're homeless.
That is wild.
Yeah, because you'll get the welfare benefits and you'll get the healthcare card, so it'll cost you $3 US a shot.
Picking up the cans.
Well, no, at the time, no, because I was making YouTube money, but I was just doing like an extreme, extreme example, just showing if you're homeless, and you don't want to spend your welfare money on steroids, then you can collect cans. So I was paying a private script, so it was costing more. So a private script for Reandron is about $100, and if it's welfare, homeless style, it's $5 Aussie, which is about $70 US. Prescription private, or $3 US for governments to subsidize steroids.
Wow. Those cans.
So, yeah.
You turn those cans into something much more valuable.
But that's what I mean. You don't even need to do that. You just be dead homeless on the street, be a heroin addict. And in Australia, the government will pay you to be a heroin addict. Literally. If you're a heroin addict in Australia, you're medically excused from work, and they will pay you, I think it's about $1,800 Aussie, which is probably about $1,300 US at the moment per month if you're a heroin addict in Australia.
Oh.
Or an alcoholic.
So they're considering it like an occupation now, it sounds like.
Well, they deem you unfit for work. Because you can't show up to work because you have a drug problem. So they give you the big benefits. So yeah, same as if you're a blind person, or if you had schizophrenia or anything like that. So yeah, which I think welfare is great, but I don't think we should be enabling drug addicts who are also doing crime to support their habit. I think we should be giving them the President Duterte ultimatum.
Yeah, for the drug addicts, I think that the mental health is a big issue. I think it's the same. These bodybuilders that have really low self-esteem.
Yeah, like I think I think as well. Like in Australia, possession of steroids is a heavy penalty. So if you're caught with heroin, that's the same penalty pretty much in most states as if you're caught with some testosterone that you don't have a prescription for, which I don't think is really right. Yeah. I see a lot of and meth. You have a meth problem there in the US, yeah?
I don't know, man. I've only been here because of the coronavirus thing. I've been here for about 2 weeks now.
Yeah, Australia, we have a big problem with meth.
Well, they have that problem in Thailand. They have shootouts on the highways sometimes with the police in Thailand with meth guys.
I couldn't imagine it. Like Thailand, you feel safe in Thailand. I feel safe in Thailand, especially in Isan. Isan's amazing, isn't it? You feel so safe there, and then stuff like that happens. You're like, what's going on? This meth stuff's crazy. I do like the police in Thailand, how they do crack down pretty hard on it in general.
Yeah. There's not a big crime presence in Thailand or a big police presence. It's just enough to keep the peace.
How did you compare? You were in Vietnam before you left Thailand, and how did you compare? Like you were sourcing anabolics in Vietnam as well, or no? Or
they do sell them over the counter in Vietnam. They they at the pharmacies around the tourist area, they have some Sustanon and some Deca. So I've taken that while I've been in Vietnam. Vietnam, it's way more traditional than Thailand. Thailand is a much more everybody is an individual type of culture, and Vietnam is a more collectivist traditional culture. I've noticed that about usually most socialist or communist countries that I've been to, and they seem to as far as the infrastructure, the roads, and the people are more conservative and traditional, and then it doesn't look like things are as updated as westernized nations.
Yeah, interesting. And you felt safe over there?
I would say that I feel safer in Thailand than Vietnam, but Vietnamese people are very nice, and I would say that for a guy that's like looking for, a lot of guys go to Thailand or Vietnam because they're looking, for girls or something like that, right? So if guys are looking for like a wife material, I would recommend Vietnam.
Why is that? It's just a stereotype. Obviously, there's exceptions, but why would you recommend that Vietnam versus Thailand for the wife material?
Because with Thailand, the culture is much more easy come, easy go, and I don't really feel like there's quite the sense of connection that you get with someone in a Western country. I don't really feel like that exists in Thailand. So it does exist in Vietnam, and also the girls in Vietnam are much more calm, nice, agreeable, feminine ladies. I mean, a girl that I was talking to in Vietnam, I was dating with her while I was there. She was telling me one day, "I'm a femininity girl," and I was thinking to myself when she told me that, man, this would never happen in America.
Did she have purple hair and a nose ring?
No, she had long black straight hair.
Okay, and yeah, wow, that's cool. So you were meeting the Vietnamese ladies on the apps or on the street, cold approach style, or Tinder, or how was it?
Oh yeah, so Tinder works good. It definitely works very good in Asia, and then but Tinder makes you not in control. So if you want to select more who you're going to meet, then it works really good to just have a business card and put your contact on the business card, and then just say hello and give someone a smile and hand them the business card and then walk away. Because it's not really socially acceptable to be talking to a woman that you don't know in Asia.
Yeah, so you're more in. Yeah, I got a friend. He's done the business card approach, and he finds it very successful in the Philippines, etc.
Okay, yeah. It is. That's a good way to meet if you're looking to meet a girl or go on some dates or something when you're traveling in those Southeast Asian countries. The business card's a good way.
Yeah, because let's say you give out 100 cards. What's your return text or email rate? You reckon 5%, 20%?
Oh, way higher than that, dude. Probably like 1 in 3. Probably like 1 in 3 will reply in like within 15 minutes. And which totally is not the way it is in an American country. But you have to think about where they're coming from. They like if they like foreigners and they want to meet one, chances are, because they're a normal girl. If you're meeting them like this, there's not some girl that you find like at a bar or something like that. And so chances are, if they're curious about foreigners, you're one of the first ones that she has ever really talked to, or could have the chance of talking to. Or so it's a pretty high probability if she's one of those girls, then she's interested.
Yeah, that's it. And then maybe if she's ovulating as well, the odds go even more. There needs to be an app where you can just like walk down the street and it can just tell if if the woman's ovulating or she's in a luteal phase or whatever, and you can because that's another thing guys don't understand is you could give the card to the same girl on week 1 and she'll screw it up and throw it at your face or call the cops, and then week 2 she's like week 3 she's like okay, and then week 4 she's hitting you up 15 minutes later, and it's the same girl, and you look the same, you dress the same, you do the same things, but you got a different reaction because of her hormones.
Yeah, isn't that the truth, man? Women are so controlled by their hormones.
Yeah, I used to think women are ran by their emotions, but it's hormones control their emotions.
I would attest to that.
Yeah, and so that's why guys should never take it personally when they get rejected or their woman goes crazy.
Yeah,
because there's always a hormonal reason behind that.
Here's another thing that guys who are thinking about steroids or they might wonder about steroids might know. If people are probably ask, did girls like him more after he took steroids or before? So for me, I've got more attention from women since I started taking steroids. More of the women are interested now, like a very bigger portion than when I was natural.
That's interesting, isn't it? And I think there's a few factors there. It could be your pheromones. Maybe they can smell the testosterone. Maybe that's an X factor. It could be also your confidence. You believe in yourself more. And it also could be your physical appearance.
Yeah, I think it's a synergy of everything.
The holy trinity.
and the kind of microscopic body language, like you were saying, confidence. The testosterone, it makes you're more likely to have different reactions. These small things that are not conscious that you do, small little behavioral tics. The testosterone influences stuff like that. That's usually, it's not in the front of your head. It's saying swear at this person or something. It's more like unconscious things.
Yeah, it's very interesting, that one. Like that's why. Yeah, I feel that if we were in person hanging out in Thailand, we could probably make a whole week worth of videos answering people's questions out there. And I think we'll have to do that when the stars align, and that'd be good fun, man. Do be training and talking shit on YouTube videos. That'd be
We'll have to collect some cans and go trade testosterone.
What yes, it's crazy. And so let's talk a bit about Corona to give this podcast even more insight. What's the deal with training now? Like the gyms are shut in San Francisco, etc. What's going on?
Oh man, no one's really training worldwide right now. So like all my personal training clients and everybody's shut in their homes, locked down. Some people have got drones outside making sure they're locked down. And me, luckily, I'm not in that situation. But there's no gym here, so I've been doing pull-ups and push-ups. That's about it.
All right. So this is really interesting. Now, let's say hypothetically, you're on 1,000 milligrams of test a week, and you're 100 kilos. You go to the gym every day or whatever you're doing. And now Corona's come into town. You stand on your 1,000 milligram of testosterone a week, but you only can do push-ups and pull-ups. All your calories are the same. How much weight will you lose, you think?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that if it was me and that situation happened, I would stay on the testosterone, like you said. So a lot of guys for this coronavirus, they've been like, oh, well, I have no gym, so there's no point in training, so I'm going to go off my cycle. And so these guys are like sitting at their homes, no steroids and no gym, and they're just having like a Chernobyl nuclear meltdown of their physiques. You gotta stay on your cycle if you're not going to train.
Yeah. And so let's say you stay on your cycle. How much will you lose, do you think, if you're doing push-ups and pull-ups?
Not much, man. Probably zero.
Yeah. And let's say you stop doing push-ups and pull-ups because you're having a meltdown, but you stay on cycle. What's going to happen?
Wait. Was that last one? If you're on steroids, but you don't do...
you stay on your cycle, but you're not doing push-ups and pull-ups because you don't think it's doing nothing. So you're going to do nothing at all. What's going to happen?
As long as you're on cycle, I think you'll be okay for the most part.
For how long you reckon can you train? This is a hypothetical. How long do you reckon you can train on cycle and still maintain gains and aesthetic?
How long can you not train while on cycle and maintain gains? Man, that's a tough one. It definitely, having big, strong muscles, the body doesn't want to be that way. So unless you're doing everything to make them that way, they kind of start to go down. So maybe like 6 weeks or something like that if you're on some pretty good steroids.
So steroids and
Yeah.
training.
Yeah. So, man, if you go off steroids, people that talk about, I want to take steroids and go to my natural limit. Okay, well, when you go to your natural limit, you do understand that the I'm talking to those guys out there, that the natural limit is your absolute peak with the absolute peak diet and training and everything. So as soon as you stop having, the perfect diet and training and nutrition, then you go away from your natural limit or whatever again. You can't like take steroids and then just get to this new point
Yeah, that's interesting.
and maintain it.
I mean, the first time I used testosterone steroids was 2014, and I've had a bench press since 1996, and I do a bit of bench press every week or two. Just nothing serious. Just I like the bone density. I like feeling doing bench. It feels good. And so I've been using this bench press for was it almost 18 years, and after I think it was 3 injections or whatever it was of testosterone anthate, 250 milligram over 3 weeks. 250 a week. My bench press was PRing.
Awesome. And you're not a spring chap anymore either. You're not a spring chicken.
Nah, and I'm just a skinny cyclist marathon guy who just does weights whenever, no real regime. But I know how much I can lift, and I'm just like getting these insane pumps.
Awesome.
In my muscles. I'm like, what's going on? This is insane. I'm just thinking straight away, this stuff is addictive. If your identity is to be swole and to look aesthetic, it's like you're gonna stay on for life. It felt like,
Yeah, well, it's physical enhancement. So if you use something, that gives you serious advantages like that, like, if you're on steroids, you are aware that you are not like other people, and you are stronger than other people. Like you're very aware of that. And it is a human enhancement. So if you go and then take away the person's enhancement, pretty much everybody that uses steroids wants to keep using them because it's pretty fun to be enhanced.
Yeah, it's like a girl analogy. It could be a girl having a boob job, and then she gets all this praise and attention on Instagram or whatever, and then she gets a boob job removed, and she's like, oh, hang on, gee, people are only nice to me because I have my boobs.
Exactly. Yeah, but I think there is some actually better substance in the bodybuilder's plight and quest for his muscle, because the bodybuilder is, he has something that he's working for, and he has something that's his and that he enjoys,
journey
rather than it's not quite something that's only matters because of other people.
For sure. Yeah, I was just doing it as an analogy to give, like women are allowed to take hormones for contraception. They're not just allowed; they're actually encouraged. As a 15-year-old, take steroids.
Those steroid users.
Take estrogen, progesterone. Take your progesterone pill at age 15. Even if you've got some pimples, we'll give you steroids. And if you want to enhance your physique, surgery's okay. Kim Kardashian, Kylie Jenner. But if you're a guy and you want to enhance your aesthetics and you do steroids, if you get caught, we can put you in prison, or we're going to have to make you socially stigmatized if you ever talk about it. We'll give you your steroids from the doctor, but if you talk about it, we'll burn you. So, which is interesting because you're like the first person I'm aware of on social media who's making a career in the bodybuilding industry, and you're being like pretty much 100% honest with people, and you're making a career of your honesty.
Yeah, that's what getting the leg infection made me decide I was going to do. That really, the leg infection in Colombia was the catalyst for that.
And without social media, this probably wouldn't be possible to be honest and make a career.
No way.
When 99% of people out there are fake natties, you're the person out there saying, look, this is what I do, take it or leave it. And if you want to do this, here's a guidebook. I think your ebook, the Steroids Guide, it is sensational. It's easy to read. It comes from a lot of personal experience, and I think educating people out there, that's the power, because when people are educated, they can make less mistakes, and it's just better for everybody. It's less hospital visits, it's understanding side effects, it's just mitigating risk. It's just having more respect for your body and understanding.
Yeah. Hopefully they can, go listen to the steroids podcast instead of, listening to Matt Ogus like I used to.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, those guys, man. That is, yeah, it's crazy. I think to lie to people like that.
Matt Ogus's coach, man.
Yeah, you hired his
When I was
coach, or
natural.
you hired him as a coach, or you hired his coach.
His coach. Because when I was a natural, I was watching Matt Ogus, and I was like, damn. Well, if I can't be a bodybuilder natural, at least I can be like this. And then I hired his coach, 3DMJ, and that was another point where I had a very rude awakening on the reality of bodybuilding and steroids.
What was that awakening you had?
Well, I found improvements once I started working with Augus's coaching people, Team 3DMJ. Yeah, I made improvements. But you know what? There was something that August had that I did not. And it was like an alien difference, okay?
Yeah.
And it just, it just became clear to me, like, I would be a fool to not acknowledge this.
Does
right
August still claim natural? Really?
now. Yeah.
That's like a mental
unfortunately.
health thing, I reckon, man. Like if you're clearly using anabolics, Athlean X, etc., twin muscle workout, and you're claiming natty, I think to look in the mirror every day and just to be making money off noobs, gullible, insecure, well, not insecure, but potentially insecure teenage kids who think, I'm going to get the prom girl, I'm going to buy August or Athlean X program, I'm going to get swole, I'm going to do it hard work and Bruce Lee Zen mindset. I'm going to have my creatine, my BCAAs from athleanx.com, and they get there 12 months in, and then the prom queen's just like, who the fuck are you, like, and they're just like dejected. That's really predatory. It is. I mean, obviously, there's a lot worse things out there in the world, but I just think you're preying on someone's vulnerability to seek an aesthetic edge or whatever. It'd be like me selling some teeth whitening product or whatever, and not disclosing that I've got crowns on some of my front teeth. Like, that's what it's like. Like me selling some toothpaste or something like that. Like get teeth, Hollywood perfect teeth. Actually, I saw a dentist.
Or like a woman with breast implants or something, advertising something that's going to make your tits look bigger.
Insane. It's insane. I've known girls who have lied about boob jobs to their. I got a girl I know called Hannah. I had a fling with her a few years ago in Chiang Mai, and her boyfriend. She's got a boob job, which is no worries, but her boyfriend still thinks she's natural. And I'm just like, dude, your girlfriend's had a boob job. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, you can.
They feel like bags of sand?
If you've been with a few girls, I've had a girlfriend for 9 years who had a boob job. Like once you've felt one, you felt them all pretty much in terms of breast augmentation. And that's not me being rude. That's just it's like once you pick up a banana, you know what a banana feels like, And but if you've never picked up a banana, someone might be able to tell it's an orange.
Yeah.
So I slept with this guy's girlfriend. I didn't know she had a boyfriend at the time. He's from Norway, and he's made all these video series about me. But yeah, it's like she's actually lied to him about having a boob job, and this guy believes it,
Mm-hmm.
And then he thinks I'm the Antichrist or whatever. But yeah, that's the level of naiveness. I guess you've got some hate out there for saying such and such isn't natural, and their fans go, no, JC is natural, man, like, all blah blah blah, August is natty, like you're just jealous, blah blah blah. Have you had that?
Yeah.
It is funny.
But
that's
pretty
kind of
funny.
the territory. If you're going to tell people the truth, you better make them laugh, otherwise they're going to want to kill you.
Well, yeah, those guys that come after you, they're kind of like burying their heads in the sand, They don't want to know the truth. And so basically you telling them the truth like that, they're then like fighting you like the like the bad guy in their dreams, that gives, no. Yeah, don't tell me. They don't want to know that their superstars use steroids. That's part of the whole like mental health thing. Is it's like, yeah, those people that deny steroids, they've got mental health issues, but also a lot of the general public has a mental health issue when it comes to their cognitive dissonance. surrounding steroids.
Bingo. That's the word. That's the word. You know. Yeah, but I'd rather live life just being transparent and having haters and just being myself than living a lie. You know, to just go along with the social quo status. Like, you know, I'd rather just be, hey, this is the. I remember when Lance Armstrong was out racing back in the day, and I said, I'm a big Lance fan. I still am 20 years later, but I'm like, this guy is on some serious fucking drugs.
Oh yeah.
And I lost friends over it. And like, you're such a hater, Harley. I said, not a hater, man. I'm just saying this is the obvious. Like, this is, you know, look at him. He's just ripping it up. This is drugs, man. He's, you know, he's part of this business. And then when Lance came clean, just how society ostracized him.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And like, man, Lance was just, yeah, he's just a pawn for these big companies, Nike, Trek, Shimano, these big companies that made billions off of him, millions. And as soon as the truth came out, they just said, see you later, buddy. Thanks for the ride. Pumped and dumped, you know?
Yeah. And everybody loved him before, and then and everybody else is doing it too. And so for them to then, you know, swing around, oh, I hate you now or whatever, you know, he's this villain in Western society now. That's so absurd.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. My first introduction to that cognitive dissonance or hate was my mum. When I was about 14, I was told her my brothers are taking drugs, they're smoking weed. And she's like, you know, no, they're not, blah, blah, blah. And I said, well, my friends from school's also smoking weed. She's like, no, they're not. They're good kids. Their dad's a police officer. You're just jealous, Harley. And I was like, what? I looked up to my mum, and I still do. But at that time, I was just like, what? I'm telling you the truth, and you're hating me. And there was this weird sort of like, you know, as a 14-year-old, it's the first time I'd ever been punished for telling the truth about, you know, to my mum. And I was just like, man, this is crazy. But it gave me a taste of when you destroy someone's fairy tale, you expect a bit of lashback. And don't take it personally. Just understand you're exposing their you know, fairy tale, and it hurts for some people. And so they'll feel hurt in that moment, and they'll lash out at you at that moment. But don't take it personally.
Yeah. I think that when you or I talk about like a fake natural or something like that, that's exactly what these guys are feeling.
Yeah. I did a few videos there on Athlean X, and man, he's got this army of 12-year-old kids out there who just they'll believe anything. It's crazy. It's amazing.
Yeah. And they're gonna fight you tooth and nail to prevent you from ripping their fantasy, their fairy tale away.
Yeah, that's just to expect it, you know. I love educating people because I love being educated, and I think you're on the same page. You love learning new things and learning the truth about things, and you hate being, you know, what's the word, like taken
lied
for a ride.
to and controlled. Yeah, taken for a ride.
There's a difference between taken for a ride like a joke and losing money and time and lifetime and scammed. You know what I mean? Like being scammed. Like, hey, invest in my product, you'll get these results. And you know full well they won't get any results like you got because they're not on steroids.
Yeah.
Sociopathic. What is the what percent of people do you think out there on social media who look aesthetic and aren't using body tune apps? I already know the answer to that one, but I'm just trying to think, what would be the most common questions you get regarding steroids?
A lot of guys are like worried about gyno.
Yeah, gyno for sure. Let's talk about that a bit. What's gyno for those who don't know?
Gyno is when you get some breast tissue growing in your chest under your nipple. So everybody's born with a gland down there, and that gland is sensitive to female hormones. So when you take testosterone, there's an enzyme in your body called the aromatase enzyme that it interacts with the testosterone that you injected and transforms it into estrogen. So when you have high testosterone levels, you also have high estrogen levels. And so when that high estrogen levels gets to your nipple tissue and binds with the receptors there, it causes the breasts to start forming as they would for a woman in puberty, because you still have the machinery there. It just hasn't been activated. So then when you go and activate it, with those high female hormone levels, you can get like an itchy burning or a deep stinging or pain sensation in your nipple. And some people can grow like almost like a golf ball size kind of thing back there behind their nipple. But how you prevent that is by using an anti-estrogen tablet along with your testosterone injections. So if you start your steroid cycle with Arimidex or Letrozole or Exemestane on hand, and you use that when you get estrogen side effects, you won't get any gyno.
Yeah, so you talk about this more in depth in your ebook, don't you?
Yeah, exactly how to do it.
What's your website for that?
It's on bodybuilderinthailand.com. You can find the ebook. It's the first article there.
That's a good one because it's aesthetic. It's not a dangerous thing. It's just cosmetic. And so, how much? People might say, well, how much testosterone a week can you use before that gyno risk is going to go up? It's going to be different for different people, isn't it?
Yeah, it is a lot different for different people, but like everybody is going to get it at some most part, even if you're only using like 500 milligrams per week.
Yeah. What about, say...
It might not happen for like 3 to 6 months, but you probably at some point will get some kind of like a nipple stuff going on if you don't use any anti-estrogen.
Yeah, so I've been listening to a few of your podcasts, most of them actually, and I find them very interesting. I listen to them on my bike rides. What if someone's using, say, like 100 milligram or 250 milligram a week of tests?
100 milligram, you're right. They probably wouldn't need any anti-estrogen at all. But 200 milligrams, they probably wouldn't need any for probably four weeks or 6 weeks. And then they'd, might need to take one tablet every 2 weeks or so, something like that.
Yeah. Like what tablet of what and what milligram?
Oh, Exemestane. So the brand name for that's Aromacin, 25 milligram tablet.
Yeah. And that's a black market. People get that from black market, or is that from the doctors? Or
they have it black market. Arimidex is more popular, but less healthy anti-estrogen. That's probably the most common one in the black market. And then from the doctor, if you get it for, a lot of doctors prescribe it for TRT, and it can come from the doctor, made by Pfizer, whatever.
Yeah. And if you use black market or underground and pharmaceutical before, or have you always just done UGL?
Oh yeah. So I mean, when I first started using in the USA, there's not a lot of pharmaceutical grade steroids. So everything I was using was not pharmaceutical grade when I started. And that was all very inferior to pharmaceutical grade. And when I started getting access to pharmaceutical grade Exemestane and HCG, Novadex, stuff like that, it made me feel a lot more confident, because now, I had supreme confidence in the medications that I had to prevent side effects with. So that prevented, it gave me some relief.
Sure, like a placebo effect relief.
Yeah.
And what about someone, there's a train of thought out there, people were saying you should test your estradiol levels first before you take aromatase, or what do you think about that?
Oh, well, they're up and down so much. They're not so stable. Like, people think that the hormone levels are stable. And it's the same with your natural hormone levels. They're up and down all the time. But with the steroid injections, even the long esters, every 3 days or so, they go down pretty significantly. So it's better if you just use them only when you need them. So basically, you will know when your estrogen gets high. You'll once you become a experienced steroid user, there are symptoms that you can get, such as something like indentations in your legs when you take off your socks, deep indentations, or you sleep on your stomach, or you lay down on your stomach for a little bit, and when you get up, there's marks all over your skin. Or if your nipples start getting like a heat or an itchy burning feeling to them, there's many symptoms of high estrogen, and there's also symptoms of low estrogen. And this is one of the things that there's no way that you can gain the knowledge of what those are without experience. So I would say that somebody that is very experienced would be the only way to really troubleshoot something like that until you gain.
100%.
experience yourself.
And that's why you do a coaching thing, don't you?
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
that's really good. It's a good resource, from someone who's not going to bullshit their clients, their people, their followers. That's very, very resourceful, very useful, and it's a community service for the community.
Yeah, I definitely recommend keeping the estrogen in the normal range, though. So for those guys that are just, not taking any anti-estrogen, I definitely recommend taking a little bit.
Yeah, but would you recommend waiting for symptoms, or taking blood, or just taking it proactively?
Wait for symptoms, but if none, if there are none after something like every 3 weeks, if there's none at 3 week intervals, then throw in like a half tablet of exemestane or Arimidex or something, because having those super physiological testosterone levels almost guarantees that the estrogen's creeping up.
Yeah, and when you say throw in a tab, you mean once a week, or?
Nah, like once every 3 weeks or something like that, because it's not really healthy to be taking PCT drugs or be taking like anti-estrogens. So you don't really want to take them unless you need them, but you do want to keep your estrogen levels normal and feeling good. So it's a very careful
So
balance.
for you now, do you get bloods tested with your PCT, or you just feel it out?
Yeah, I get a blood test about twice a year these days. So I use this place called Private MD Labs, and they contract out to a bunch of labs. So I can just go into this random lab that's like in different medical labs all over the state or wherever I am, and give a little bit of blood, give a vial of blood, and then I get home and they send me an email with the results of my test for like under $100. So that's how I get my blood tested.
And do you think that, what's the word, when you think estrogen levels can start kicking up higher, let's say your levels are 200, you get on 250 milligram a week or 500 milligram a week, and your levels go up to what are they going to go up to, you think, 1,000, 1,500?
Yeah, something like on 500 a week, something like 3,000.
3,000
nanograms per deciliter. Yeah.
Jesus, that's right up there.
Yeah, different guys get different readings. Different guys. So two people might take the same testosterone dosage, like 500 milligrams, and one guy might get 3,500 nanograms per deciliter, and another guy from that same dosage of testosterone might only get like a 2,400 nanogram per deciliter reading.
But still over that 1,000 limit.
What was that?
It's still over that 1,000.
Yeah, it's over that. But there's a different metabolism of steroids from person to person. So if two guys take the same dosage of steroids, one guy might get more steroids into his blood than the other. There's certainly a difference.
That's right. With your DHT and your SHBG levels and stuff like that.
Yep, exactly. Metabolism.
Yeah, yeah. And so this is being a vegan. I've been a vegan 19 years. I'm noticing, I would say, this is more hypothetical, because vegans are going to be eating a lot less estrogen than if you're eating meat and eggs and stuff like that, and dairy, which have got a lot of estrogen in there. I'm theorizing that a vegan taking steroids, which is pretty popular in the vegan movement, I shouldn't say popular in the vegan movement, I should say it's popular in the vegan bodybuilding movement, which is the same as any bodybuilding movement, steroids. But I wonder if the vegan lifters would have to take less estrogen because they're not having the estrogen from the dairy, etc. What do you think? Like the dietary estrogens? Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Possibly.
So far,
One thing that I've noticed from experience over time, though, with taking the steroids, is that the natural remedies for like steroid use, they are not as powerful as the drugs. Like any kind of natural manipulation never comes anywhere near the power of the drugs themselves.
You can increase your testosterone by getting sunshine on your nuts or going to bed early, etc., etc. You can feel that. I can feel that. When your testosterone goes up, you feel more horniness and harder pumps and stuff like that. But it doesn't rival what you'll feel from actually using pharma grade test. If someone's taking 250 milligram a week and they stay on that, what do you think their levels might be at?
Around like 1,000 to 1,500.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. Yeah, and we're using the US units. In Australia, the level is 10 to 30.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's almost like divide times by 3, so or 2.8 roundabouts. And yeah, interesting stuff. What about calorie wise? You know, you see a lot of people talking about 1 meal a day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these these fake natties out there saying that, you know, I got this extreme muscle advancement in my physique from just eating once a day. You know, what do you think about those people?
Well, steroids make it so that your body processes food differently. So
I've noticed that.
yeah, that and that is basically all that they do for performance enhancement. So you have to think about the raw ingredients that you're feeding into the machine, and then the steroids, they're altering, you know, the rules of the machine, where the steroids make it so that your body releases less protein. It just stays in your body and it keeps recycling it. And it makes it so that your muscle cells are more sensitive to absorbing carbohydrates. And so you want to be feeding the machine enough protein, a lot of protein actually, and then you want to be feeding it enough energy by fueling those muscles with the carbohydrates.
So you can keep lifting strong, so you can get the full benefits of the steroids.
Yeah. The carbohydrates are much more important than the protein for things like pumps and like being able to train a long time. But the protein is definitely important though for having the dense muscle tissue that sticks with you from cycle to cycle, and you get bigger and bigger over time. Having a high protein diet is very important.
And when you're talking protein grams per day, what are you talking? What do you like to?
Like 300.
300. You get 300 every day, mostly.
To take full advantage of using steroids, yeah. If you're a natural, you definitely don't need that much. But the steroids definitely they take advantage of the high protein level.
Otherwise, you just sort of what happens? Let's say someone's natty and they're eating 300 grams of protein a day. What's going to happen to them? You think with the protein?
I think they'll probably get pretty lean, maybe, because the protein has quite a high. It's quite hard to digest. It takes a lot of fuel, energy.
I say they just probably get more puffy and bloated feeling.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what kind of meat or what kind of protein it was. If it was chicken breast, I think they'd be okay.
but let's say they're using steroids, then it's going to partition better into the muscle.
Oh yeah, it's going to partition very well to the muscles.
Yeah, I was having a discussion with a friend last night about that. I was just saying, from my personal experience taking low dose, you know, for a few weeks here and there, that when you eat food, it just sort of feels different on your body. You know, your insulin sensitivity goes even higher, and you have
that's a major
endurance,
major effect.
And it almost feels like you can go on a lot less sleep, which is not ideal, but that's what I felt. You know, that's why a lot of people in the military give them testosterone so they can go on missions with less sleep and still function at a high level.
Man, they should all take it. I would definitely want all the soldiers to be on it. Makes you stronger.
I think a lot of the Marines are on it, looks like, you know. What do you think?
Yeah. That's a common question I get. People say, are you a Marine? And I say no. And they say, well, why do you look like that then? Do you take all that stuff? And I'm
the next thing. Yeah, I'm not on steroids. I'm just a Marine. I'm a Marine on steroids. But I mean, it looks like the Marines are. It looks like all Marines are taking anabolics. It looks like.
Yeah, they're. I don't know, man. I don't know. I know some guys in the military do take anabolics, but they do test for it from time to time.
They test for it
from time to time. Yeah, I know some guys who are in the military. A lot of them use SARMs these days.
What if you get a prescription from a doc, from the army doc? Will you be all right?
Oh yeah, that'll be all right. Yeah.
I think that's what they're doing. I think most military are pretty clean cut in general, and I think they'd just be going, let's go the professional way, and let's just get it for the doc. Hey doc, you know, I've got low T levels. You know, just come off cycle. You know, been to Thailand, and I got low T, so help us out. It's crazy, man. What's going on out there? It's I think we'll have to do more of these videos. I think people will be interested. We could probably talk all night about stories of Thailand and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, well, I think, education is power, and more important is honest education. Not bullshitting people. Just tell them the absolute truth, and then they can just deal with it from there. Especially, this is this ascetic journey or muscle or whatever people are going. This is a journey, and if you want to get to the end direction, don't listen to people at the start of the path who are going to bullshit you and sell you a fake map.
Yeah. Stay away from
Listen
them.
to people like Dan. Yeah, that's what it is. It's basically you're at the trailhead of fitness, ascetic, gym, whatever you want to call it, and you're at the trailhead. Athlean X at the trailhead. Ogres at the trailhead. All these people at the trailhead, and there's these big long lineups for Athlean X maps. Athletes like, I'm gonna take you to the top of the mountain, man. And all you're gonna end up at the freaking on the toilet floor in a public gym, crying your tears out because you ain't got no gains. So if you listen to Dan, his trail map will take you where your goals desire.
Yeah,
you get eaten by piranhas in the river for all that
X's
stuff.
Map sounds like a crock.
Get fucking chased by a pack of jackals. It's transparency is where it's at when it comes to this journey. Like honesty. Like if you're honest to your girlfriend, women don't really like honesty. Women I found prefer their feelings preserved. So if a girl says, "Do I look fat in this dress?" and you say yes, she's gonna hate you. You gotta lie. You gotta lie to your women to keep them happy. All right. There's honesty. There's a time and place for honesty. When it comes to weight loss and fitness, then that's the time and place. When it comes to your girlfriend's feelings, honesty isn't really the best policy. You want to have a half truth. So there's a time to BS. Is that girl attractive? Nah, baby, you're hotter. Like there's a time and place for that. Like women want their feelings preserved. So I'm all for transparency, but I'm also for real world. If you're talking with women, honesty when it comes to weight loss and fitness for sure. But when it comes to other things, there's a bit of half truth accepted.
I concur.
Yeah, man. As I'll put this on YouTube as well. So what do you think? Actually, I'll pause this now. We'll talk some off record stuff. Let me just stop record and